Okay, so here's where we left off in the last lecture. I've just changed onto my other computer, which I'm using my 2011, but it doesn't really make any difference. But this is pretty much the same painted weights results. You can see there was a few things that you see. Notice under the arm there's a vert which is moving when I move the arm. It seems to be moving that vert. I don't like that. I want that to be perfectly stationary. Yeah, so obviously press B, shift the left, and drag to the left to decrease the size of my brush. Now, my 2011 seems a little bit different, but it's virtually the same thing. It's supposed to be more helpful in some ways. You see there's loads of verts underneath the body which are just being affected. So the painted weights tool, I'm going to look for the joint which is the left, yeah, there we go, the clavicle, left clavicle, and yes, and here you can replace. I think the one thing I don't like is you can't actually have a negative value here, which is something I don't really like, but I'm going to replace I'm replacing the vert's value for 0. So I'm saying not at all should be affected by the elbow in this case. None of this region should be. So I'm looking here, I can still see that when I move the part on the body there, which I'm correcting now, should be on 0. So I'm just decreasing all the influence there. So when I go to the timeline again, I can see now that nothing there is really moving except the vert under the arm, which is, I don't think it's too bad. So just going to look around again for some more anomalies. There's bits in the front of the arm which I'm not very happy with. Perhaps I want to think about smoothing those out. Oh, of course I've got it on replace, but I want it to add. So it's just trial and error really. Just trial and error. Bump up the value a little bit, see what I get here. Not exactly what I want. So I'll undo. Vertebrae 5, I want to increase that joint's influence here. You can see that vert is coming back. I'm getting a better edge flow in this extreme pose. I'm just smoothing those out as well at times. Again, by pressing the shift key. That's a little secret, but you can have it. Right. Yeah, that's a lot better now. I think there's less influence happening in places that are undesired. But I'll try and smooth this out a bit, this region here. Yep, smoothing it out seems to have quite nicely evened out the painted weights influences there. But that will also alter certain other things, which is one thing I don't like about the smooth brush on the painted weights influence. Okay, but this region here is a good place to use it because there's 2 sets of influences, one on the clavicle and one on the shoulder. Hopefully there shouldn't be anything on the vertebrae there. So the shoulder, I'm just smoothing this out. I'm adding as well, adding and smoothing, adding and smoothing. Again, I want to make sure that when I rotate this back, it doesn't have an anomaly at the back of the arm there, which you might see. And just want to turn my X-ray joints on. This seems to be a bug. Sometimes you have to turn it off and then turn it on again to actually see it. So now I can see the shoulder joint and the influences it will be having, which joint that is. Okay, clavicle. Going to increase slightly the influence on the clavicle there, on this part of the arm. So those two should move quite nicely together. I'm just going to smooth these out a bit now. There we go. Always good to see smooth gradients when it comes to painting weights. So transition from the arm to the clavicle, shoulder to the clavicle, from the vertebrae to the clavicle, and These all should be really smoothed out quite nicely. That usually gives a good result. But again, keeping in mind the edge flow, just increasing the influence from the clavicle here, just so that in this extreme pose it will serve a better purpose. Smoothing those bits out. Okay. Now hopefully when we start testing this again, yep, that looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Yep, undo that. Going through, just tweaking, slight tweaks to give an improved edge flow. And that's a very important part of rigging is the edge flow part. This is where I'll come back to the sort of, this is good for your modelling eye, I suppose, as well, to see that the flow of the edges of each edge loop is kept good in each pose, extreme pose. Just get nothing really difficult happening here. And another thing I like to do is I always like to go inside the mesh so I can kind of see what's happening. Sometimes maybe overlooked, but here I can get a really good view. So I can see that bit of the arm is now coming through. So I'm going to take care of that. Smooth this out, maybe add more influence onto these regions. There we go. You don't really want intersecting meshes, even though you wouldn't see it from the outside, but it's just not good. It's good practice to have that never intersecting. There we go, that's quite good. Again, it's the combination of adding influence. I think right now I'm on the clavicle, so I'm saying the clavicle should affect all those bits. Okay, good, good. That's keeping a good edge flow. Slight lump there, but good. Now this tweak is getting better with every painted weight stroke. Back to the clavicle, slight tweaks. Now I'm going to come to the point at why I'm actually doing this at this stage. See, now I have control over each individual joint. You see, now I'm moving that specific joint, so I know the painted weights for that particular joint is now done. It's very good. Not very good, but it's getting there. However, if you start building control curves, I think which I'll come later on to, becomes a bit of a problem, and I'll get to that why later, to why that is later. You can still see there's a few anomalies here. So I want to, yep, see a vert there, which is not doing anything. It's moving when it shouldn't be moving, rather. So I'm not happy with that. So I'm going to reduce it to 0. Oh, I think I have, nothing's really happening here. I think, see, I'm just looking that the vertebrae 5 should be affecting this more, so it shouldn't be moving. It should be staying with the vertebrae 5 joint more than. So I'm trying to add some here. I think I'm being quite silly because I think it's not doing anything. I think it's because I have the opacity set to 0. I'm going to try again. Nope, I have the opacity set to 0. So yeah, let me just check. Well, that's the value. That's not going to make any difference when I have the opacity set to 0. So I'm going to increase the opacity. And now that's doing a slightly better job of actually doing something to those words. Nope, that's not going to work. Increase the opacity to 1. Silly me. There we go. Now it's not moving. It's because it's attached to the highlighted backbone there, which is called vertebrae 5. Yep, that's good. Yep, I just want to smooth those out a bit. Smooth that out. It's always good to keep things smooth. Oh, let's see another. Yeah, I don't like that bit under the arm. No, yeah, there's certain bits which I don't want to replace with 0 influence. The bits there under the arm. There we go. So that bit should not be affected at all when I move it. Yep, and it stays exactly where it is, just as I wanted. Great. Now, now I'm going to focus on just the elbows rotation. The elbows rotation now, I can focus on that because I now know that the shoulder painted weights is done. So now we just have a look at that, which is actually looking pretty good. It's always good to look in a 3D view from all angles possible. Just checking here, forwards, backwards, not really affecting any other things. I think thanks to some of our prior work, which is good. Good. Right. Let me just see what else I can do with this now. Yep, looking at it from all views. And the default binding on the arm seems to be quite good. I had a few tugs on the body earlier, but we actually got rid of that, which is good. So we can focus just on this thing's rotation. Now, it's actually quite good, but I want to just make sure that this fold happens correctly. So I'm just now only interested in the shoulders influence and the elbows influence. I'm just going to try and smooth those out a bit to get a better... Oh, hello. Add. Yeah, that's what we want. We always want to add and smooth in that way. Get a better fold here, so that when the arm folds, it will be a lot better. You see, this is now distributing the painted weights over the two influences. So the joint from the arm, which is here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of influence on that bit there to even that out with the elbow. Just what I was working on a little bit earlier. There we go. Just smoothing out things there. Good. You see it's coming along piece by piece. Just focusing on that. Quite happy with the way it's rotating. With just that one rotations. Great.